right, Pat. We got back-to-back sweeps. How you feeling right now?
Derek, like it's insane because I think the last time we talked, the Yankees were kind of like in like their early season struggles, if you want to call them. But the Yankees are literally like the best team in baseball. And it's not even like an argumentative statement anymore. Like the Yankees have solidified themselves as the best team in baseball. They went through like a little rough patch, I guess, if you want to call it, like a couple of weeks ago. But now I think like they're fully back. Once they got back to the Bronx and they just fully beat up on the Angels, beat up on the Tigers. Now we're going into Minnesota. I have zero doubt in my mind every single day watching the Yankees that they're going to win.
Yeah, I feel the same way. The pitching has just been so consistent. I mean, I can't even remember the last time somebody had a clunker. Maybe it was
No,
that game in Baltimore where Garrett Cole didn't have it. But other than that, like when was the last time somebody got knocked out in like the second or third inning?
dude, no, it's actually insane. Like, especially like going into this season, right? Like, I don't know about you, but I wasn't extremely high on the Yankees rotation, right? I knew that Garrett Cole was kind of going to be that guy that we always expect him to be. And then after that, I was a little questionable. In number two spot, you had Luis Severino, who we haven't seen like be a full-time starter in years. Didn't know what we were going to get out of him. Then Jameson Tyone, it's like, yeah, we saw flashes of greatness from him last year, but we didn't know if like that was who he was going to be this year. And then you had Nestor, who, Derek, I mean, I went on record of saying that I thought he was a fluke, right? He's proven me wrong tremendously, bro. Like, he's the best pitcher in the American League. That's the way I view him now. And then Monty, it's like you kind of knew what you were going to get out of him, but that's like a typical like 3-4 kind of guy, right? And now all of the guys in the rotation, Derek, you could make an argument that in any other rotation, any of these guys could be like an ace. Bro, you put
Yeah.
Jordan Montgomery in like Minnesota, he's probably their ace.
Yeah,
It's insane.
you're not wrong. Let's just talk about Cortez for a second because I don't think it was necessarily clear that he was going to do anything like what he's doing, despite the nice little stretch run that he had last year. Because if you remember, he wore down at the end of the season. And so a lot of people were wondering, well, was it just that he was tired, or did the league kind of figure it out? Did they get kind of used to him doing that little shimmy? But he's pitching in a way that, Jamie Moyer pitched at the end of his career, or, Andy Pettit when he was so good towards the end of the career. He skipped all those years of blowing out your arm by throwing as hard as you can and just went directly to being a supreme craftsman out there. And he's just got guys off balance. And that's why I think it's going to last, because he's not relying on zipping it by everybody. He's just got everybody frustrated. You can hear guys swearing and cursing every single time that they face him because he's just frustrated. He's a comfortable 0 for 4, as Greg Maddux used to say. And what about the bullpen? I mean, Clay Holmes, Mike King today, unreal.
Dude, it's actually insane. Like seeing the Yankees bullpen flourish in this way, especially a guy like Clark Schmidt, right? Like a guy who we kind of viewed as like a complete bust. I mean, at least I did anyway. I kind of viewed him as a complete bust going into the season. Like, oh, it's just another like failed Yankees pitching prospect, right?
Right.
He's now like one of the top of the arm guys in the bullpen. So it's like looking at what the Yankees bullpen has been able to do, especially in the absence of like a Roldis Chapman, who is kind of like the Yankees closer. I don't know what's going to happen when he comes back, but Clay Holmes has been absolutely dominant in his place. Like, I won't shed one tear if we never see a Roldis Chapman close a game again. Do I think Chapman's time with the Yankees is done? No. But Holmes has kind of made us forget about him entirely, right?
And it's usually pretty effortless, right? It's usually like 1, 2, 3 on like 8 or 9 pitches. He's had 1 or 2 where it's been tough when he has a long layoff, but it's given me Mariano vibes and how easy he would get through innings, because he's just got that pitch that nobody can do anything with, even if they know it's coming, that 99-mile-an-hour explosive sinker. All right, now we got to touch on Joey Gallo a little bit. Big 2-run home run today. He also struck out in a key situation with the bases loaded. Obviously, I was on the Andujar train. I wanted Andujar to take over in left field. Yankees decided to option him, and he's now requested a trade. And maybe Joey Gallo, that takes a little bit of pressure off him. He goes deep. I don't know. I'm grasping at straws because I want this guy to succeed. I root for the laundry. I don't root for the specific players. I would love for him to succeed in New York, but I'm just not convinced it's going to happen. I know you've been kind of supportive of him. Let me get your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like the way I kind of view baseball, like we know this, I view it like emotionally rather than like statistically, right? It's that kind of thing. But I mean, you look at the numbers, Joey Gallo has been really bad as a Yankee. Like he just hasn't been good at all. Like, and I know a lot of people are going to throw out the narrative, oh, he's never been a good baseball player. Like, no, look at his numbers from Texas. he was a pretty damn good baseball player like 90% of the time. I know he doesn't bat for average, but that's never who he was. So I'm looking at Joey Gallo now, and I got to admit, I think it's a mental thing, because I don't think Joey Gallo is a bad baseball player. And I do think that when he does find another place to play, I think that he's going to be very good. But it's so tough, just like you said. It's like, I want Joey Gallo to do well so bad. And like, I don't know what it is. I don't know if like he has a soft spot in my heart, Derek. That's the way I view it. Like when I see Joey Gallo like hit the home run today, like it makes me feel good inside. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't like Aaron Hicks, but when I see Aaron Hicks get like a home run, it doesn't give me the same feeling as Gallo. I think maybe because like Gallo's expectations are a little bit higher. I don't know. But the way I'm kind of viewing Joey Gallo as a Yankee, I think this is a good comp, Derek. You know, I'm like the king of like analogies here. I'm viewing him as like the hitter version of Sonny Gray. Does that make sense? It's like Sonny Gray came here. It's like maybe they have like the same like small market mindset. I'm not too sure, but I think that it's the same thing, as in they're still capable of performing at a high level, but I just don't think it's going to happen with the Yankees.
That's been the case for a lot of players throughout history. You know, Kenny Rogers was always pretty solid when he wasn't pitching in New York. You know, he was good with the A's. He was good with the Tigers, obviously good in the postseason with the Tigers. We've seen that happen with a number of folks. Chuck Knobloch forgot how to throw the ball from second base when he got here. Sometimes New York just kind of, it just adds a little bit too much for some folks. But some folks, like, look at Trevino. Look at how he's played. Dude. I mean, the guy is playing so much better than his track record. You know, Clay Holmes, another guy. And now that's probably partially due to Matt Blake. Whatever adjustment they've made has really worked out. But you know, he really struggled with Pittsburgh, and now with the Yankees become one of the best pitchers in the major leagues, essentially. Yeah. So New York is a tricky place. What you got on your mind regarding Aaron Hicks? Do you think that that's going to be the first place that the Yankees try and upgrade? I can't see them just releasing $30 million. That's not Brian Cashman's way.
It's weird. It's a really weird situation when it comes down to like Aaron Hicks, because like Joey Gallo is a totally different situation, right? Like he's a free agent at the end of the year. I think you could probably even trade Joey Gallo at the deadline if you really want to. I'm sure some team would take him just because, like I said, the upside is so much higher with him. But with Hicks, it's weird because he's still under contract for a few more years. Like, granted, if Hicks is like a decent baseball player, it's a very team-friendly deal. But the fact that Hicks isn't even like a decent baseball player within the last couple of years, because let's not forget, before he got hurt last year, he wasn't good in the beginning of the season last year either.
Right.
So we haven't seen a good or even decent Aaron Hicks in a very long time. And I don't know. I think it's just starting to become very concerning, the fact that he can't really provide anything to the Yankees. I know, like, we've seen like a few glimpses of greatness from him in terms of like getting on base and whatnot this season, but I think for the most part, it's been extremely disappointing. And I don't know what route the Yankees could go with that. Personally, I think that they have to go out and acquire an outfielder at the deadline. I'm looking at a guy like maybe Andrew Benintendi. Maybe a guy like Ian Happ from the Cubs. I don't know. But I think overall, I think you have to go out and get an outfielder, right? Like,
the problem is neither one of those guys plays much center field, if at all. There's not really a lot of good center fielders that you could go get. You'd almost have to get like a defensive first player. I would not be opposed to, you know, maybe even going with Tim LaCastro. I like him as a weapon off the bench. Right now he's in AAA, but I think, you know, he can't really hit is the thing. He can't hit much better than Hicks can, but at least he's going to run balls down. You know, I mean, like he's so fast and he's exciting if he gets on base. I don't know what the answer is, man.
Yeah, but like, okay, so like you said, like neither Benintendi. I mean, Happ. I think Happ's played a decent amount of center field. I don't think Benintendi, but I think that's kind of like, I don't think that's a huge factor just because we've seen Judge flourish in center field. Like in the second half of the season, like if you need Aaron Judge to be your everyday center fielder while he's putting on his MVP campaign, I think that should be no problem. And then going into a postseason scenario, I think your best outfield construction, I mean, your best lineup construction too would involve Stanton in right, Judge in center, and then Benintendi in left if you get him, because then that opens like the infield to either like putting Donaldson at DH, right? You don't really have to bench anybody. So yeah, I think with a fully healthy lineup, I think your best lineup has Judge in center field anyway. So I think you could go out and get a corner probably.
You know, I think you're probably onto something there, because if right now when you make a trade at the deadline, you're not playing for the final 6 weeks of the season or whatever, because theoretically the Yankees are going to have a healthy lead. Right now, they've got a 99.5% chance to make the playoffs, according to Baseball Reference. They're probably going to win home field advantage as well as they're playing. And assuming everybody stays healthy and you have this same kind of configuration, you're basically trading for the final pieces of your postseason lineup, right?
Yeah.
Or for post game or postseason situations. And I could see Benintendi being a nice fit in the playoffs because he makes contact. He's a solid outfielder. But yeah, put him in left, put Judge in center, and then go with, either, Gallo if he's still playing with the Yankees in right, and Stanton at DH, or Stanton at DH, and then whoever's swinging a hot bat as your DH. I like Carpenter a lot. I know he got off to kind of a slow start in terms of hits, but the pop is real. I mean, he's hit 2 or 3 balls in the upper deck already. His swing seems like it's perfectly made for Yankee Stadium. Give me your impressions on Carpenter.
Dude, I love Matt Carpenter. I know, like, when the Yankees first signed him, like, I think the fan base was kind of 50-50, right? A lot of people were kind of like, oh, like, why are we getting this guy who hasn't been good in 3 years? Like, yo, we should have brought back Brett Gardner. And then a lot of people were kind of like, yo, like, this could be like a little sneaky fit for the Yankees. Like, he has a pretty solid left-handed swing. Like, put him in the Bronx. He might be able to, like, revive himself a little bit. I don't know if we're going to see like a career revival for Matt Carpenter, but what we've seen so far, I think, is exactly what the Yankees were looking for, right? You're looking at like a guy who could play multiple positions. I don't think they've played him in the field, but he has the ability to do so if needed.
Right.
But I think you bring him in off the bench as like a solid left-handed pinch hitting option. And that's something that the Yankees have been missing, right? Like, when was the last time the Yankees? I mean, you could go like Ruben and Odor if you want to, but like a pretty solid, like left-handed power bat coming off the bench, which I think is pretty solid going down the stretch, right? Like, I don't know how long Matt Carpenter is going to be with the Yankees for, but considering the fact that they sent down Andujar over him, leads me to believe that they're impressed and might want to hang on to him for a little bit. So yeah, I'm extremely impressed with Matt Carpenter. I like the mustache. I'm not usually like a huge mustache guy. His looks good. It's like a Thurman Munson-esque kind of thing. So yeah, I think Carpenter's a solid addition. No complaints.
All right. So before the season, we talked a lot about the shortstop position. You were not on board with the IKF move. I was pushing for IKF. I just want to get your thoughts now. We're roughly 50 something games into the season. What are your thoughts so far on IKF? I think he's been solid.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm being honest, like, yeah, he's been good. I mean, he's been all right. He's been okay. I think that's the way I describe him. He's been okay. He's not really like blown my mind at all. It's kind of just like, I think we're getting what I expected we were going to get. My only thing is, people might beg to differ on this. The defense isn't necessarily like everything I thought it was going to be. Like, there are some plays where I'm kind of like, yo, like, is that Gleyber Torres at shortstop?
Right.
Like, just like the play the other day when Sevy had that, it would have been a no-hitter if IKF caught this, but line drive to shortstop, like, you assume that your elite defensive shortstop is going to catch that, right? I thought it was Gleyber Torres at shortstop, not going to lie. So yeah, I think the defense has a little bit to grow there in terms of like what we know he's capable of. But I think with the bat, I mean, that's kind of like what you're going to get from him. The Yankees didn't really acquire him to be like an absolute stud at the plate. But yeah, I mean, he's been all right. I don't think he's like the long-term fit at shortstop for the Yankees. But I think for what he's given us, I think we should be satisfied, right?
Yeah, I mean, so Aaron Boone likes to talk about finding wins in the margins. And I think that IKF was kind of one of those guys that might be overlooked today. But he was a big factor. He swiped second base, kept that inning alive. He got in by just an eyelash. And then there was that play where Baez was trying to go to second to get Gleyber, but Gleyber was already running. And then by the time Baez turned his attention to first base, IKF is already there because he's hustling out of the box and he's got speed. So I think the speed has added a dimension that's changed a number of games in very small ways. I would like to see him hit a little bit more. I mean, he's hitting about 260, but it's pretty much all singles. He doesn't do a lot of damage. He's got a couple of doubles, no home runs yet.
You think he's going to hit a home run this season?
Well, he hit 8 last year. So I figured that's about 1.5 per month.
I know.
So
right?
It would not surprise me if he hits a couple on the road, but I think Yankee Stadium might be a little bit too much for him. He's not a guy who has opposite field power. So he's got to pull the ball. And we saw him pull the best ball of the year that he's had late in that one walk-off win. I think it was the game that Glaber walked off, but he hit one off the left field wall on maybe a short hop.
Yeah.
And that's as close as he's come. He might be able to hook one down the line, but I think the pitchers are kind of trying to keep him to center field and right field because they know he can't hit it out that way.
But that's fine though. You know what I mean?
I'm fine
It's
with
like
it.
we don't need it's the same thing. It's the same way like I viewed Glaber the last couple of years, right? Like, yo, if he hits like a bunch of home runs, cool. But that's not why we need Glaber Torres, right? We don't need IKF to even hit 10 home runs this year.
Right.
Like, yo, give us elite defense at shortstop, bat like 250 and just get on base a decent amount. And we're satisfied with that from IKF. We don't need him to be like Giancarlo Stanton, you know?
All right, so we're running out of time here on this new Zoom time alert thing. So I want to get your revised prediction for the number of wins that the Yankees are going to have. I've seen a lot of people saying that they're going to contend with that 98 team. I still don't think that they're going to get that many. I've got them coming in at 105. What are you thinking?
How many did that 98 team win? 114?
114. They were 114 and 48.
So Derek, I got my calculator out here, right? Because I don't know math. So I'm going to assume that the Yankees are going to win 112 games this season. So that would give them a record of 112 and 50. I think they're just going to come short of that 98 season.
I'll take it. I'll sign up for it right now.
And Judge is going to win MVP.
Oh yeah. I think that's I think that's looking like a given at this point. He's just absolutely dominating on offense. You think he's going to hit 62?
No.
And would you consider that if he hits 62, would you consider that the legit record? Because of the whole steroids thing, or would you just be like, you know what, pitchers were on steroids too. It is what it is. This might have been too late of a question for 5 minutes left.
Yeah, it's such a combo. But personally, this might upset a lot of people. I'm gonna say no. I think like mentally, if you want to be like, yeah, that's the legit home run record. Sure, there's no argument there. But I think you got to look at Barry Bonds. Yeah, he hit 73, steroids or not. Like, yeah, that's the record. So that's the way I view it.
I kind of look at it that way too. I don't think anybody's going to break 73 in my lifetime, maybe in your lifetime, but I think 62 would be nothing to shake a stick at, considering that record has stood in the American League for 60 years, and fitting it would be 61 years this year. So, and that record was set 1961. It was 61. So it's all coming together, baby. It's all coming together. Pat Hennessy. Yeah. Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you, Derek.